Ladies and gentlemen, good day and welcome to Q2 and H1 FY22 earnings conference call of JHS Vanguard Laboratories Limited. This conference call may contain forward-looking statements about the company which are based on the beliefs, opinions and expectations of the company as on date of this call. These statements are not the guarantees of future performance and involve risks and uncertainties that are difficult to predict. As a reminder, all participant lines will be in the listen-only mode, and there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions after the presentation concludes. Should you need assistance during the conference call, please signal an operator by pressing star then 0 on your touchtone phone. Please note that this conference is being recorded. I now hand the conference over to Mr. Nikhil Nanda, Founder and Managing Director. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I would like to wish all of you a very warm welcome to JHS Vanguard Laboratories Limited earnings conference call for the half year ending 30th September 2021. I would like to express my gratitude to all of you for taking the time to join us today. I also have on call our investor relations Bridge IR and our group CFO Ashish Goyal and our CFO Neeraj Mittal from my team. Since this is our maiden earnings conference call, I would also give you all a brief overview about the company from the year we started till date and the recent developments which we are undertaking, so you get a fair idea about the business model of the company and what we intend to do. JHS Vanguard Laboratories was founded by me in 1996 as a proprietary firm while we were manufacturing toothbrushes. Initially, we were focused on exports because Russia was a big export market at that point of time. Subsequently, Oral-B, owned by Gillette India, planned to come into India with their brand Oral-B, and we were the initial partners for Gillette to get Oral-B into India. There had been a tremendous growth in the initial years, and things were going very well, and that's the time when we also added a few more customers like Amway, Dabur, and at that point of time Sahara, which used to have a big consumer products division. Going forward, Gillette got sold to Procter & Gamble, and there was a time lag when they were restructuring the whole organization, and the business was relocated from us to other locations, but we continued manufacturing for other brands. Subsequently, P&G came back with the Oral-B brand sometime in 2010. We also added Wella, Patanjali as our customers in the meanwhile, and Patanjali continued to grow very well. Somewhere in the year 2012-2013 is when we set up a complete large toothpaste facility also. One with the Ayurvedic license and one with the cosmetic license. So currently we manufacture the Dabur Babool, Promise and Babool Ayurvedic toothpaste. We also manufacture the Dentasure and the Close-Up toothpaste. Dentasure is owned by a multi-level marketing company called Vestige, and Close-Up is owned by Unilever. Apart from this toothbrushes, we continue to manufacture for most of the major brands like Patanjali, Dabur, Leaford Pharma, Amway India, Vestige, and recently we've also started manufacturing for a kids brand called Mimi. We are the only facility in India which is an integrated oral care manufacturing facility. Most of the other contracting sites are either toothbrush manufacturing sites or they are toothpaste manufacturing sites. There is not a single unit in the country which is a integrated facility with both brushes and paste, and that gives us a lot of leverage and advantage with the brands which want to run a promotion. Like, just to give you an example, Dabur has been continuously giving a toothbrush free with their toothpaste, and that's been the major reason for the volume growth in Babool. And they get a saving of almost close to 10% having a inside facility for both brushes and toothpaste. Currently, we are speaking to at least 4 or 5 different brands, all big ones, for whom we are developing toothpaste. We have a very strong R&D center, and we're doing some toothbrush development also from them, which is also underway, and we hope to see some traction and it getting converted into real numbers in the last quarter of the financial year and the first quarter of the next financial year. As we all know, in the last 1.5 years, COVID-19 has caused a lot of disruptions in the businesses, and we've witnessed unprecedented, I would say both ways, unprecedented numbers, where because of the lockdown, few months had to be shut down, while because of the tendency to hoard the daily essential items, we have seen a huge shoot in the consumer pattern where volumes have gone up majorly. However, this pattern has mainly been in the last financial year, and things seem to be more settled in the current financial year. We are continuing to cater to the industry, and we've been going through the cycle as most of the other FMCG brands. However, as a business, we've realized that from oral care we need to probably grow twofold. One is in terms of our geographical reach, because in the post-GST times, what is important is the availability of the material locally, because most of these big FMCG brands for whom we work have all India distribution. So as long as we are able to provide them deliveries locally, the business can grow further. So geographical reach is very important, because no longer the tax benefits of a Himachal or a Uttarakhand exist. So in order to create our advantages and our leverages, we need to have a larger geographical presence. Along with that, we are also adding product lines. So talcum powder is one of the categories where our facility has already commenced installation, and we should be able to produce talc for one of the leading multinational brands from January of 2022. So that's going to scale up subsequently. That's a new category which we've added in our product line. Apart from that, in order to have our geographical outreach, we are evaluating. We already have an investment banker on board who's talking to a couple of smaller contract players in the FMCG categories, which are creams, lotions, oil, soaps. So we still haven't got anything concrete in place, but we're speaking to a lot of companies in that. And we intend to have in the next 9 to 12 months at least one facility either in the south or the central part of the country. This has been the background and the current developments which we are undergoing and undertaking in the company. Apart from that, in order to give you a detailed brief about the financials of the company, I would ask Ashish, our Group CFO, to take you through the half-yearly numbers and give a detailed brief on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Nikhilji, for giving us the overview. So first of all, I would like to thank all the participants, and now would take you through the half-yearly numbers for the financial year 2022. So we reported a revenue of 46.22 crores during first half of financial year 22, as against 48.44 crores in first half of financial year 21. The marginal decline in revenue in half-yearly, year-on-year, is mainly on account of change in demand pattern of company's multi-level marketing clients due to restrictions of public gathering impacting customers' demand at large. While if we compare it on quarterly basis, so whereas there was an increase of almost 28.69% recorded during Q1, there is a decline of 22.2% recorded during quarter 2. But these effects combined had yield to a decline of 4.58% in first half of financial year 22. This, as we understand, is primarily because during the first wave of COVID-19 in last year, in financial year 21, FMCG companies and like almost all of us were not prepared for the disruption. Rather, it has been unprecedented for almost all of us on this call. The supply chains had dried up during quarter 1, which was subsequently replenished in quarter 2 of financial year 21, leading to an immediate increase in sales in quarter 2 of previous financial year. Whereas in financial year 22, the current financial year, the length of lockdown was short and scattered across states, unlike previous financial year where it was a countrywide lockdown. FMCG companies as well as consumers were prepared, and the bulk buying and hoarding, as mentioned by Mr. Nanda, came down significantly, and buying pattern was largely uninterrupted across the 2 quarters during the current financial year, unlike previous year. This was the main reason for decline in year-on-year quarterly sales in Q2 specifically for the current financial year. Our EBITDA for the first half of the year stands at 44 lakh, which is an increase of 87 basis points despite the marginal decline in the revenue. So we have rationalized on our cost. EBITDA margin is at 95% for the half year. This is largely due to the cost rationalization as well as the sales mix between the different product categories. Our PAT during the first half of the year has been reported at 18 lakh as against a loss of 1.62 crores during the first half of the previous financial year. PAT margin stood at 0.4%, which is improved by 374 basis points, whereas EPS has been reported at 1 paisa. That is all from our side, and we are happy to take the questions here onwards.
Thank you very much. We will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 on your touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Anyone who would like to ask a question, please press star and 1 at this time. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. The first question is from the line of Aniket Redkar, an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, sir, I have a couple of questions. So, can you give a revenue split up product-wise and the segment-wise for the quarter and the half-year ended?
Sure.
Yeah.
So, for the current financial year half-year, the product-wise breakup across the different categories, which is toothbrushes, toothpaste, and other allied oral care categories like mouthwash, tongue cleaners and all, is we are doing around 30% of the revenues are coming from toothbrush, and approximately 65% is coming from toothpaste segment, and another 5% is from the other categories combined. And if we talk about segment-wise, because we have 3 separate segments, the third party, the private label business, is contributing the largest. Approximately 90% of the revenues are from that line, and another 6 to 7% is coming from the proprietary brand, which is into a step-down subsidiary for now, and the remaining is coming from the retail business, which is specifically at the airports.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, sir. Sir, as we can see, there is a decrease in the revenue to 24 crore as compared to the last quarter 31. I mean, from 31 crores to it's going to decrease to 24 crores. So, what is the main reason for this?
So, as I mentioned initially during the call, that whereas if we just see the numbers at a quarterly level, yes, there's a decline, but unlike previous year, when the disruption was there, so there was an increase in quarter one as compared to the previous year. Because last year the supply chains were not prepared to handle this kind of disruption. So the impact of increase versus decrease, the combined effect of Q1 and Q2, there's a marginal decline. So if we compare the quarterly numbers, so whereas we have reported a revenue of 48 crores during the previous financial year, we have reported a revenue of 46.22 crores during the current financial year.
So QOQ has increased by 14%. But YOY, if you can see, it is decreased to 22%.
Yes. So YOY quarter, yes, there's a decline.
Okay. So, are we facing any raw material prices as increases as we recover in the market? So, are we facing any problems in terms of raw material?
Sure. Very relevant question. So, as I mentioned that the large part of the revenue right now is through the third party private label business, where there is a clear pass-through over to the customers. There is a monthly and a quarterly reconciliation where we pass the cost differential both ways to the clients. So we are largely safeguarded there. The little exposure that we have is only on the branded side, and the rest in private label that is taken care of.
Okay. So, is there any new product addition, or if it is their new product, then is there any? When are you going to launch such product? If you have any new addition in your pipeline.
Sure. So first of all, as far as the new product within the oral care category, that's a continuous process. So as and when the new client is added, we do the complete R&D for them, and then that is being offered to the client. As far as the new product category is considered, as mentioned by Mr. Nanda, so we are adding talcum powder as an additional product category, which is likely to be up and operational in January of 2022.
Okay. So, sir, can you give a brief about how many products are in the R&D phase right now?
So if we talk about in the R&D phase for the active inquiries in the customers that we have, there are 12 SKUs combined of toothbrushes and toothpaste, which are right now under the development stage. And talcum category is a new product category which will be up and running, for which we already have a agreement with a customer in place.
Okay, sir. So, related to this only, what is our R&D budget right now? Do we plan to increase it or further expansion?
So,
I would like to answer that.
Please, sir.
Along with the new facility, we have a large R&D facility also coming up. Currently, our R&D budget is less than 0.5%, which we intend to increase to close to 2%. So, lot of investment in terms of equipment and people, both is being undertaken, which should be in place by the first quarter of next year. As we intend to add more categories of products in our portfolio, we need to have a strong R&D base for that, which we are working on. I hope this answers your question.
Yeah. Sir, can you see how do you see the Aqua White for the further quarters? I mean, what kind of developments are happening in this Aqua White?
So recently we've got enrolled and approved in CSD, and we expect our revenue in Aquavite to double it next financial year, primarily on basis of the CSD and CPC, which is going to be huge institutional sales coming into our product portfolio.
Okay. So, sir, as far as expansion is concerned, what are our plan in terms of the marketing? I mean, do we have any plan to expand our business development and the marketing team? And what is the budget for the same?
Yes, we are already evaluating to have a few people on board. In order to have the new facilities running, we need to have business also. So we are already finalizing on 2 new key employees from the various IIMs, and the process of shortlisting is already done. We just need to finalize on the 2 key people that we would be hiring. And the idea is all the new products and the R&D that we are putting up, that needs to be pre-sold while we go in the market with the facility.
Okay. Sir, as you can see, the market is recovering and everything is going smoothly, slowly. So, what kind of demands are we getting for our products right now?
As a category, we are in oral care, which is growing at about 4 to 6% only. That's the reason we are very keen on adding new product categories, because most of our customers, just to give you an example, we work for Dabur for both toothbrushes and toothpaste. But they also have a huge Vatika, they also have a huge range in oil, creams. So if we have a running facility, we would be able to get some business from them, especially in South, because they also don't have a manufacturing base or a supply base in South. So somebody who's associated with them for last 2 decades, we've been working for last 20 years, I'm sure they'll be happy to pass on business in new categories if we have a South-based facility. So those are the kind of things which we are trying to do, where we complement, 1, our existing customers with new products, 2, with new locations, and 3, we are able to get new customers because of the new product categories that we would be adding. And 4th, with the acquisition, we are able to immediately increase our revenue, because currently we are a totally debt-free company with cash reserves in the bank. So we're going to use them productively to acquire some new facilities with contracted volumes.
Okay. So, sir, do we have any new client addition to our portfolio? And who are the major 3 or 4 top competitors for us?
See, last year we added Close-Up, which is Unilever. This year we've added Mean, which is a very popular kids brand. And we are already signed up with a multinational for the talc, where we put up a greenfield facility which would be up and running in the last quarter of the current financial year. So these are the new developments which will add to the numbers. Unfortunately, while we added the business here, 2 of our key customers who are in multi-level marketing, their volumes have degrown by almost 70 to 80%, primarily because of COVID. Their business model is dependent on assimilation of people and having conferences of people and then doing this product sales, which is not happening. So that 80% decline in their volumes actually took the sheen off the growth that we would have got from the new customers.
Okay. So, can you give a projected top line and the bottom line for the year end? And how do you see the
I can only tell you one thing. By the end of the year, we'll hit a run rate of 150 to 180 crores on no addition in terms of any acquisitions. If we are able to conclude something like that, That's only a number which would be there once we also know about it.
Do you think is there any strategic acquisition can come up in line? I mean,
the business is ever changing and ever dynamic. We never say no to anything. We always keep looking at opportunities in all the ways.
Okay, sir. Thank you. This is from my side. And happy Diwali and great year ahead. Thank you so much.
Same to you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone who would like to ask a question, you may press star and 1. The next question is from the line of Risha Mehta from GreenEdge Wealth Services. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for the opportunity. So I'm very new to the company. A couple of very basic questions. So, currently oral care forms the bulk of our revenue, right? So could you just talk a little bit about, your focus in terms of oral care versus, let's say, you're expanding to other personal care categories. How do we see the revenue mix shaping up? And what really, are the margins in both these categories? That's one. Second, in terms of, I can see that there is a B2B part of your business and then there is a B2C part, which is your branded Aqua White business, right? So here again, what is the focus? How do you see that shaping up? And again, in the branded space, right? So I see that that's, loss making, right? So, with heavyweights in this industry, having their own brands, what really is your right to win here? And, and how do you see these losses kind of coming off and, the numbers moving? So these are the first two questions that I have.
Sure. So I'll go one by one. The first is the margins in the new categories and our focus. So margins primarily in the contract manufacturing business remains similar. I wouldn't say same, but similar across categories wherever you present. Oral care currently is about 14,000 crore category. We do about, which is on a retail MRP. So on a company transfer price, it will be half of that. And Talcum, which we are entering, is about a 3,000 crore category. And the revenue share would depend on the category itself. However, there are a much larger number of players in the talc, and the brand loyalty is much lower in talc as compared to a toothpaste. Probably I would say it's similar to a toothbrush. A consumer generally changes his toothbrush easily, but doesn't change the toothpaste very easily. Similarly, talc brand also, they are fairly easier to change. So we have a lot more opportunities in terms of smaller brands. This is as far as your first question is concerned. Second, about our own brand, Aqua White, which is a kids oral care brand. If you would have seen, there are earlier there used to be one single category of the white toothpaste, but over the years we've seen Sensodyne creating a niche category of sensitive toothpaste, Dabur Red and Patanjali creating a subcategory of the Ayurvedic toothpaste. Similarly, we are a young country. We have about 22% population which is below 10 years of age. Internationally, there are kids oral care products available, but in India they aren't. That's how we thought of launching the kids oral care range. We did raise some private equity. We tried to set up a distribution. The product acceptability is very good, but distribution is a different ball game altogether. Doesn't gel with our DNA. That's why we changed the strategy, and we've already turned profitable from the I wouldn't say profitable, but we've turned to break even in the own brand category with the new CSD business coming in. And we are focusing only on institutional sales, which is CSD, CPC, and the second is the online sales. So we're creating a team. We've already got a small team in place which is doing online sales. we've got a good traction there. We intend to make that bigger and focus our brand only in institutional and online sales rather than investing any further into the distribution channels. And we're going to cut the losses from here. And I think Q4 onwards, we'll be turning out some marginal profit even in the own brand businesses. But the focus continues to remain on the contracting business with new products and new categories.
So, going ahead with addition of new categories like talc and even your aqua white business, probably breaking even or let's say becoming marginally profitable. Can you just give some indication in terms of how do we see your numbers shaping up, both the top line as well as your EBITDA margins? Because, if I look at your historical performance in terms of margins, it's been quite volatile, makes it difficult to kind of fathom anything because, right from a 10% EBITDA margin to, now it's, 1-2 odd percent, right? So.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from, and we've had our own set of challenges in the last couple of years where we'd set up a huge greenfield project for one of the leading multinationals of the world, which had launched the Oral-B toothpaste in India. And we had a very watertight agreement in terms of margins, volumes, everything. But unfortunately, the product didn't do well in the Indian market, and they had to pull out the Oral-B toothpaste out of the Indian market, which kind of created for 4-5 years of volatility and a whole business model. However, going forward, that was more than covered up by the Patanjali business, which started picking up very well from 2014 onwards and peaked in about 2017 and then dropped real fast for the next 2 years. So I would say that the contract manufacturing business has been kind of dependent on our customers, and that too just in one category, which is oral care. That's the reason we are now focusing to de-risk the business. 1, by having other product categories. 2, by having a larger consumer base, and probably also add some businesses from them. Just to give you an example, currently we don't make any products for Himalaya, but Himalaya's got a huge vendor base in south of India who's supplying to Himalaya. And if we are able to maybe acquire one of those companies and supply the creams, lotions, the different range of products that Himalaya sells, we might also be able to supply them the toothbrushes and the toothpaste from our facility here. So those are the kind of things or the kind of complementary strategies which we intend to deploy going forward. And I can say what you asked, the predictability, we would be able to have a lot more predictable numbers in the next 2 to 3 years. And by the end of the current financial year, we should be hitting a run rate of about 150 to 180 crores on top line, and we should be doubling our profit, net profit PAT from the last year.
Okay. And the other bit, so in terms of, since oral care forms, large part of your revenue pool right now, so how are these contracts kind of structured, right? The reason I'm asking this question is because, our past history has been volatile because of, maybe let's say getting one new account and losing another account or so on and so forth, right? So what are the nature of these contracts? What are their tenors? Do we get firm commitments? How well in advance? How does the the price hikes or the price movements happen with these accounts?
As I mentioned, business is ever dynamic in nature, and going with our experience of last 2 decades, we've had a customer like Dabur where the contracts are for 2 years, and we've been renewing every 2 years. It's been 20 years now. while there was a contract with P&G which was watertight for 7 years with fixed volume, fixed margins, and their product bombed in the market, and they couldn't honor the terms of the agreement. So the predictability to that level, even the best of the contracts may fail you, and even the loosely contracted volumes may continue to stay there. However, having said that, every business and every investment needs some kind of a predictability. I would say that most of our contracts currently are between 2 to 3 years, and they have a fair amount of volume prediction with a 10%, I would say 10 to 15% volume volatility already built into the contracts. Any increase in the raw material prices is a pass-through, and the conversion cost is something that we take up on an annualized basis for revision.
Got it. And how much would, let's say your top 2 customers contribute to your top line?
We've been very conscious to ensure none of our single customer is now more than 25% of our revenue. We took our learnings from the P&G business while P&G was about 70% of our overall revenue stream. Currently, none of our single customer is more than 25% of our revenue.
Okay. And the top 2 customers would be contributing how much to your top line?
About 40-45%.
Understood. And would it be fair to say that probably P&G business was exited back in 2012-ish?
2013, yeah.
13, yeah, okay. And probably you added Patanjali in 2015.
No, Patanjali.
Because then again,
we've been producing for Patanjali since 2010. Their business picked up in 2014.
Right.
They had a huge, almost 150% growth annually from 2014 to 2016.
Got it. And typically, let's say, the Daburs or the HULs of the world, they would, how much is the max, vendor share that, they have a cap on?
In general, 50%. But again, it depends on the category and the size of the business. At times, they cap it at 20% also if the volumes are really high.
So talking about our category, which is oral care, would that still be your 20%? Or?
Well, Colgate has a 20% because they own 55% of the market. Colgate has a 20% cap per vendor, but Unilever is a much smaller player in the oral care category. So currently they don't have any such cap, but we are a new addition to their vendor list.
Got it. Right. And typically, all of this is outsourced by these FMCG companies, right? The toothpaste, toothbrush manufacturing, or do they have something in-house also?
No. Like Colgate for 75 years has never produced a single toothbrush in-house, and they've produced 100% toothpaste in-house. However, in the last 3 years, 2017, 4 years, in last 4 years, they've set up a facility of their own to manufacture toothbrushes, and they have started outsourcing some of the Cibaca volume, still not Colgate, but the Cibaca volume to different vendors.
Thank you. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Ms. Mehta. I would request you to rejoin the queue for follow-up questions. Thank you. The next question is on the line of Rishikesh Oza from Robo Capital. Please go ahead. Rishikesh Oza, your line has been unmuted. Please go ahead with your question. I would request Mr. Rishikesh Oza to unmute yourself and go ahead with your question.
Hello, am I audible now?
Yes, you are. Please go ahead.
Okay, great. Oh, great. So, you said that by FY 22 end, you will reach somewhat kind of 150, 180 crore of run rate. So, I assume this will be continuing in FY 23. So, the top line, you can reach 180, 200 crores. Is it fair to assume that kind of range in FY 23?
Well, that's a fair assumption, assuming that we have no addition in terms of an acquisition, which I am pretty confident in next 9 to 12 months, we would be having at least one acquisition happening. As I mentioned, we are totally debt-free, and we have cash in the bank with us, and that's ready to be deployed for a full acquisition.
Okay. So, could you share your capacity utilization numbers for the quarter?
Toothbrushes is about 65% and toothpaste is about 50%. In that 50%, Ayurvedic is only about 25%, while the cosmetic is about 80% utilization.
Okay. Okay. So, like, we almost have a double kind of potential, if we can say, from the current revenues that we have done, correct?
Without any capex from the current facility, we can double our revenue.
Okay. At full capacity, you are saying.
Correct.
Okay. Okay. And sir, if you could, indicate what kind of EBITDA margins we can do. So, like earlier, we used to do in some quarters, we used to do 9-10% of EBITDA margin. 6 to 9 was generally broad range. And last 2-3 years, it has been like 1 or 2% somewhere around. So, if you could indicate what margins can we do going ahead?
When we lost the PNG business and our capacity utilization was down to 10%, we did take up some business and we continue to do that at much lower EBITDA margin. But all the new customers are being added at close to 10% EBITDA margin. So that's a slow and progressive change which is happening. And I think in next 2 to 3 years, our EBITDA margins would come back in the double digit with all the new customers in place.
Okay. 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 And so the acquisitions that we're doing about adding any new facility, that we will funding by cash, you had said, correct?
Primarily.
Okay. Okay. Got it. Okay. That's it from me. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Rohan Mehta, an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, sir. Thank you for the opportunity. Some of my questions have already been answered, but just I had a few more. You mentioned, sir, about your R&D budget being approximately 0.5% as of now and going towards a target of around 2%. So by what kind of time frame are we looking at if we would have an R&D budget of 2%, and what would be the revenue level at that?
By the end of next financial year, we'll be at 2%, and our revenue at that point of time should be between 150 to 180 crores, as was mentioned.
Okay. All right, sir. And so this primarily would, as you mentioned, would go into new machinery facilities and for the new product lines that we are getting into, like talcum and others, right, sir?
It will be for all the products that we would be manufacturing at that point of time.
So, sir, any guidance on specifically which product lines we'd be looking at in the next 1 year in terms of new categories that you spoke about?
What we've invested is in talcum powder. What we currently have is oral care, both brushes, paste, mouthwash, denture tablets. There's a small facility which we've set up is also for creams and lotions, but that's a very small facility. We'll be using R&D to develop new innovative products in all these categories and then reach out to the market for having a pre-sell before we actually set up a facility, or maybe depending on what acquisition we finally end up doing, whatever product line is there, we'll be utilizing it for that.
Okay. Okay. So would there be some amount of capex for these new products, or would it only be out of the existing facilities and any acquisitions that may happen?
It'll be out of the existing acquired facility or the existing facility for which we've already done the CapEx.
Okay, sir. And sir, as we spoke about mergers and acquisitions and plans, any specific targets that you have, as you mentioned, in the south or anywhere else that you have specific targets for M&As?
Oh, premature, but we're talking to a couple of companies there.
All right. Okay, sir. So this also we're looking at a time frame of maybe next financial year. Would that be correct, sir?
Yes. The target is to have acquisition in next 9 to 12 months.
Okay, sir. And sir, as you mentioned the capacity utilization across different products, so that is also would probably increase once everything stabilizes, like the effects of the pandemic and whatever volatility was there. Would we expect reaching higher capacity utilizations in the next 6 months or so?
That's already underway. We've signed up a couple of contracts.
Okay. All right, sir. And so just lastly, just wanted to know your marketing budget roughly for the year or for the next year.
So marketing budget per se, since a large part of the business is through private label, third party, and as far as our own branded business in the overall segment is more to do with the institutional sale. So it's not something that we are not looking at more than 1 to 2% of our marketing budget per se. What would be spent is more to do with the R&D to offer new products and formulations to our customers.
Okay. Right, sir. And so you also mentioned expanding your team as such. So even like year on year, this quarter, our employee costs have also been, as a percentage of revenue, been higher. Right. So do you see if you expand your team, take new recruits and all, would that impact your EBITDA level margins or that's factored in, considering the growth in revenue and other operational efficiencies and capacity utilizations once they increase, would that offset the impact of higher employee costs?
So going forward from here onwards, that would obviously offset it. The current increase is largely because of the impact that has been there during the COVID period. So even the minimum statutory increase that is there. So that has come in a combined manner in the current financial year. That's why it's looking higher. But going forward, it will all be factored in.
All right. Okay. And sir, the new manufacturing facility is it like on track going on, or any sort of timelines? Is it scheduled for the year end to get operational?
That's on time. It is expected to be up and running in January of 2022.
2022. All right. Okay. Thanks a lot, sir. That was all from my end, and all the very best. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mehta.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, you may press star and 1 to ask a question. Anyone who would like to ask a question, you may press star and 1. The next question is from the line of Sharat Khandelwal, an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon. Am I audible to everybody?
Yes, sir, you are.
Yes.
Okay. My single question is, what part of your turnover is contributed by exports?
So, Mr. Khandelwal, for the current financial year, the majority of the business, or rather whole of it so far, has been from the domestic side of it. And initially, till pre-COVID period, financial year 1920, it used to form a larger part of our overall business.
So is there any specific reason why that has got curtailed?
That's one of the reasons for the overall revenue numbers to come down as compared to pre-COVID levels. But that is likely to gradually ramp up, and it will obviously be part of our the run rate that Mr. Nanda has mentioned for the current financial year. Exports will obviously start forming part of it.
So if everything falls in place as per the plans which you have described on the con call till now, so
Right.
what is the kind of turnover you would expect by FY23, and what is the kind of profitability you would expect in terms of EBITDA margins?
So from the export, for the export business, you're saying the share of export business?
Well, everything. Export business, potential acquisition, ramp up of production, and sales to current customers and new customers. I mean, just the overall projection guidance coming from management that we are looking at. You already mentioned 150 to 180 crores for FY22. So what is it that we're looking at by FY23? So
FY22 is the run rate. By the end of FY22
Yes,
is the run
yes.
rate.
Right. Understood.
And
So
if the
similar run rate
acquisition,
you could propose for FY23 based on
that
everything
run rate-
falling in
that
place?
run rate will continue for the full financial year next year.
Okay.
And if the acquisition comes into place, we expect another 50 to 100 crores, depending on what's the size of acquisition,
Very good.
to further add into the overall business of the company.
Okay. I mean, the reason I'm asking is I'm a new investor in JHS, and based on the commentary coming from the management, would be my decision to add more or continue invested as much as I am right now. So this would be very helpful. So I'm pretty encouraged by your plan.
We're very happy to have investors like you with us, and it'll be our endeavor to ensure that we live up to all the expectations.
Very good. Our congratulations and best wishes for doing much better in future.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. As there are no further questions from the participants, I now hand the conference over to closing comments.
Thank you everyone for joining us today and making this maiden conference with our investors a very success. We are really glad that all of you could take out time and join us today. And I ensure on behalf of JHS and my team that we'll be making all the efforts and striving much more than what we've done earlier. We'll put in all the hard work, which will ensure that our company, your company, moves forward and grows irrespective of the market conditions. And please stay in touch. Our investor relations team would definitely be available to you for any further questions anytime you have. And thank you everyone once again. A very happy new year and happy Diwali belated to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. On behalf of JHS Vanguard Laboratories Limited, that concludes this conference. Thank you for joining us, and you may now disconnect your line.